I'm a resident of Flemington and a parent of Rising Junior and of a graduate of the class of 24. I hadn't planned on speaking this evening, so I apologize if my comments are a little disjointed. A couple of things I noted while the lawyer was speaking earlier, and I forget your name, I'm sorry. One of the issues that if I'm understanding your comments correctly, because I share her sentiments in it was all too fast and I didn't catch it all, that there was an issue with a delay in notification regarding students over 18 years old. Students over 18 years old are adults. Parents have no obligation there. Like, I took my son to the emergency room a month after his 18th birthday, and they wouldn't tell me anything without his expressed consent. I couldn't go back with him in the emergency room until he asked for me to come back. 18-year-olds are legal adults. There's no obligation. So if there's a delay, at least the information's getting through at all. Second, there was a comment about students under 18. The parents are brought in before the services are rendered, I would imagine, unless there's an emergency situation. But I have a student in the Aspire program who gets Care Plus service, and before they even met my child, they brought my husband and I in. So I don't know what the issue there was, but that's not what's happening. Parents are brought in right away. I was on that side, so I didn't see who was commenting. I believe it was Mrs. Peterson about the ratios. Just because other schools are worse, that doesn't mean we have to lower our standards. If your child came home and said, well, I got a C on a test, but everybody else in the class got an F, would you be cool with that? Like, you have standards that you meet because that's your standards. You don't lower yourself to the lowest option out there. Thank you. We're in a period of historically high levels of unrest and conflict in this country. Minority groups of all kinds, whether it be race, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation, are all being targeted. And this climate is trickling down to schools, with bullying on the rise both in person and anonymously online. Why, in such unprecedented levels of unbridled hate and abuse, would you remove services targeted at providing support for our most vulnerable students? If anything happens to these students because of the removal of service, besides the legal ramifications that you may come across, may it be on your conscience.
Because I heard Care Plus was potentially not going to be voted through, which is, I'm still in shock over that. I wasn't aware that we weren't going to have school-based youth services, and that to me is horrifying. The amount of risk that will increase as far as the safety and the well-being of the students in the building. If you have any idea what actually happens in the building with the students, you would already know that. The fact that you could lump together all student services, like the student assistance counselors and everybody else together as support services, just shows that you don't understand the different levels of care. Because a student assistance counselor is not providing the same services as a clinical counselor can provide in a session where a kid has a higher need. They're not. You know, some of these support services are talking about what classes to take and what's going to look good on like a college application. That is not the same thing as services for a child who has some sort of other need. And there's so many different kinds of needs. And we're talking about like we had grief services, we had comprehensive services with all these different layers and all these different programs. We had it. And it doesn't matter that somebody else was underserving their students more. And like now we have good enough that's better than what they had. We had something great, and now we don't have it. And it's not just, this, I guess it's like, this is what happens when you make decisions based off of dollars and cents, but you're not actually looking at what is the value of a student's life, or their health and their well-being, their success, whether or not they're able to finish school. What's the value of that when you're looking at all of these different numbers? That's what I really want to know, because I think in making these two decisions, we've increased the liability of the school, which, you know, you're going to need a lawyer. You're going to need a lot of really great lawyers. If we end up having an increase in self-harm, in suicidal ideation, anxiety, dropout, whatever the heck else it is, like, just wait until some parent comes and says, you cut all of these services even though the community showed up and told you that they wanted them, and that they wanted to pay the tax dollars for them, that their children were using the services, that the services were helping the students. You know, the only reason you don't know all the things that you want to know is because of confidentiality. And, you know, I'm sorry. That's just the way that it works. People have rights. And so you don't get to know what the student services specifically are, but you have to trust that the professionals who are providing the services actually do know. And you have to defer to them, because that's what they do. So I just think that this is really unethical, to be honest, and I'm ashamed of the school board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would you put Mr. Trent's explanation on your website so that folks can?
This
look at
meeting
it?
is recorded and it is on.
Got it. It is shocking to me, President Santander, that you have a board member who said that they didn't know what was in the budget, and acted as though they don't know how you can find it in the budget. It was simple. We looked at the budget. That's how we know. $278,000, roughly $280,000, which is roughly 0.3% of the actual budget. I understand that support services is 19% of the budget, but this is 0.3%. If you want to look for savings, why this critical service here? When you eliminate this service, you eliminated the student-based counseling, you've eliminated Care Plus, and now you're about to place all of that work on the school system, on the current SAC program. Did you do analysis as to what that's going to do to those counselors? Who are they going to not be able to see because of the extra work that has been piled on them? But I go back to the fact that you have a board member who does not pay attention to their own budget. They voted for it twice. Well, at least that I know of. And just finding out last month that that is in the budget, that's reprehensible. How can we trust, I mean, if the individual, your board member is concerned about economic responsibility or financial responsibility, how is it that they don't know what's in the budget? Do they really look at the budget? What else don't they know that's in the budget? It is a dereliction of board duties. And it should be reprehensible to you that they admitted they did not know what was in the budget. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Without any additional board business where we want to see something added to a committee.
I would like to request.
Is there, I don't think the microphone.
It's not working as well. We need a replacement for them. I'd like to request that the Operations and Transportation Committee consider discussing an RFP for demographic study. We have a lot of building going on around us, and I don't think until we really understand what the future holds for the district can we really get a handle on even strategic planning. It's probably going to be helpful, and don't think we'll have it by the beginning, but hopefully by the end. So I'd like to request that the OMC committee take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I have just something I'd like to ask you all to consider. Obviously, I'm disappointed about Care Plus. This folder has all the information that was in your electronic folder. But I understand and I appreciate your perspective and the position you're in. But with us not having that and school starting September 2nd for our students, There are some swift and intentional things I'll need to work on with our leadership team and our counseling department to make sure that we have supports in place. So that may be some new service pathways through hourly professional service providers. That may mean contracting with a company for those clearances that we speak about. That's usually hourly or per clearance. So those are the sorts of things that I would need support on, and we will bring them to the ONT committee, Jess. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to congratulate this board. Mazel tov. In the 15 years I've been coming to these board meetings, I have never seen the board not support something the superintendent put forward. We rely on our administrators and the staff at this exceptional and extraordinary school to come forward to the board with all of that understood of the expectations of what these school administrators need to run this school. That is their job. I understand you have a responsibility fiscally and in other matters to address with the school district and the community. I'm a taxpayer. My kids have graduated out of Central. I don't give a flying F that my taxes are being increased for the goodness of our kids, for supporting them. I don't care about averages across other districts. I care about the exceptionalism of Hunterdon Central. We are not average. We have not been average. We don't accept average. We never will accept average. I'm outraged by the decision of this board when we consider that the school leading administrator sitting right before us gave you two board agendas, the board goals and the Care Plus behavioral contract up for recommendation, and you denied both. That is not exceptional. That's all I'm saying. I'm leaving the rest of my conversation for another board meeting. Disgusting.
Nancy Ramore, as I said before. First, I was very emotional when I got up here earlier. I hear what you're saying about Care Plus. However, school-based youth services offered you free services. There was no charge to your students, to your school for the services. I cannot understand how you cannot even consider renewing that contract. Any of the issues that you have had with behavioral health, they can be worked out. What can't be worked out is the fact that there are laws. The Keystone Law says that anyone over the age of 16 has the right to counseling and does not require the parents' approval. However, after working with the school-based program for over 15 years, I could tell you every effort was made to have those students bring those papers back from their parents. 35 years the school-based program was in this school. We had no litigation. There was not anything. Their services, if you ask to see the service that the students and their parents gave every year regarding the services that the children received, you would have found 95+ approval rate. Yet you chose not to renew a contract that offered your students and families. Do you know how many families cannot get their children to counseling after school? They were offered that during the school day. Do you know how many families cannot afford it? They were offered that in their school day. And you are denying that of your students when it cost you nothing. And I don't want to even think about what it might cost this district that you have not approved these mental health services. I would encourage you to rethink your decision on the Hunterdon Behavioral Health School-Based Youth Services contract.
Hello. First, I'd like to apologize. This is my very first board meeting, and I don't know the difference between Care Plus and the school-based counseling. I am a concerned mother who has 2 children, and I had a whole thing written up that now is just being thrown out because I'm learning and figuring things out. I can tell you, my son told me that he wanted to see a therapist, and so I diligently started researching and calling, all these. I could not find a therapist who had openings. 0. Literally, I could not find a therapist with openings. Finally, we were on a waiting list 3, 4, 5 hours. It was a long time. Felt like a very long time. We saw a therapist, and she said, "Well, I know that you had requested once a week, but I don't have availability for that. I could only do every other week." Oh, and she actually, I'm sorry, because what she started with was after speaking with my son, I sat down and she said, "Your son has informed us that informed me that he's suicidal, and he has a plan, and this is his plan. So I suggest you blah, 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 and take away all the yada, yada." I'm a mom. I was sitting there like, what? and then she says, "And I can't see you every week, so I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks." Excuse me, you just told me that my son has a plan to kill himself. How? What? Excuse me? I called the school because I was freaking out and I don't know what to do because I'm just a mom, I'm not a therapist. And my son has an IEP, and I don't know how it works here with all of your counselors and who gets farmed out to who and how and what and where or any of that. I do know I was told we have the school-based counseling. We have the school-based counseling for you, and we will get him out of class right now and speak and take care of it. And we'll talk to him, and he was allowed to be in that space where he felt comfortable. This has nothing to do with. I don't understand how he was a freshman. He tried out for volleyball. I mean, how do you not allow? School-based counseling was there for him, and I'm really concerned that it's not. I don't know why he wasn't referred to someone else, but that was important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I began pulling the numbers from high schools in New Jersey with over 2,000 students. Since high school presents unique mental health challenges that districts need to address, and we are a unique school because we are one of the larger ones. There are not that many districts over 2,000 students. In fact, without including charter or specialized schools in my search, I was able to identify and compare 25 high schools with over 2,000 students to create a cohort with Central here. The average student body among the cohort is 2,450. Central is estimated to have 2,301 students this year. Like I said, Hunterdon Central has 15 counselors, which means there are 153 students per counselor. The cohort high schools average 219 students per counselor. So that means we have almost 70 fewer students per counselor than the average school in the cohort. I recognize that Care Plus is intended to be more directly aimed at helping students with more critical issues, as well as students with issues like school avoidance and anxiety. What I also learned is that these students are also within the purview of our SACs, who are specially certificated to address these more critical issues. So among the 25 high schools in the cohort that I found, the average number of SACs per school was 1.3, with the majority of the schools having 0 or 1 SAC. Hunterdon Central has 4 SACs, which is more than any other school in this cohort. Additionally, throughout my research, I found that New Jersey offers free or low-cost, high-quality mental health services that are at no extra cost to the district and taxpayer. Programs like New Jersey's Children's System of Care, or Perform Care, provide therapy and crisis intervention, while Hunterdon Behavioral Health and Catholic Charities offer insurance or Medicaid-covered counseling. Both Perform Care and Catholic Charities have mobile crisis response services which can come to a family in crisis. I wasn't comfortable just comparing us to other school districts, so I also went into our funding and see how our funding of our counseling department compares to other districts. I looked at the state data for this. There is a subgroup of data for districts which either services grades 7 to 12 or 9 to 12, like Central does. I looked at the percentage of each school's total budget which was spent on support services between 2015 and 2023. Among the 46, we'll call them non-elementary districts identified, Hunterdon Central ranks the 5th highest in the percentage of our budget dedicated to support services. Mental health resources are a concern, but it's a concern that has been totally allayed, in my opinion, by looking into our numbers. The data demonstrates that we have exceptional resources within our existing, extremely qualified staff. Coupled with robust local community resources, it appears that our students have access to multitudes of care. In the actual budget numbers for 2022-2023 in school districts serving grades 9 to 12, the average percentage of spending dedicated to support services was 16%. Central spending was 19% of the school budget on support services. 3 percentage points above average. In that same year, and for the same school districts, the average percent of the budget dedicated to total classroom instruction was 54.7. We came in under the average at 54.6. As far as the students' access to student SACs, we have approximately 575 students per SAC as the ratio in our school. Most schools have 3 times as many students assigned per SAC. The percent of our budget which has been dedicated to total classroom spending has decreased every single year between 2019 and 2024. During that time, the percent of the budget dedicated to the total classroom spending decreased by 1.4%, and the percentage of the budget dedicated to support services increased by 1.17%. Mental health resources were a concern for me, but that concern, like I said, has been allayed by looking into our numbers. The emotional safety and wellness of our students can be and should be well supported by the robust services we have. Now, if you will recall the budget presentation this year, some of you were present for it. RBA outlined we have a lot of financial strains on the district right now. Many of these strains cannot be controlled. State aid has declined $931,107 between 2020 and 25. During that same time, the Care Plus contract has cost over $1 million. We face declining enrollment, increased tuition and transportation costs, increased health benefit costs, utility costs that have increased 50% over the last 2 years, increased costs during Chapter 40 due to the Chapter 44 law, and increased insurance rates and employment benefit costs. Additionally, we have potentially significant unfunded liabilities which are extremely difficult to plan for, but which will have to come out of our operating budget, and we cannot put our head in the sand and hope everything is okay. Since 2016, the number of teachers employed at Central decreased by more than 10%, while the number of other positions increased 10%. The very last thing that I want to see happen to this district is what we saw happen down the road earlier this year. I do not want to be faced with having to lay off a single staff member and will not vote to lay off a single teacher because we have committed to a contract for more than $250,000 that we cannot necessarily back up. As we have seen, layoffs are harmful to the students and the community as a whole. Likewise, I don't want to see this district have to massively increase taxes above the cap when our community is already badly struggling with the tax increases. It would be really easy to just say yes today based on emotion and because people are yelling at us.
The superintendent report, Jessica mentioned that they are working goals. We're still going to work on the metrics and the timeline. That was the understanding. And that's what she stated, and that's what we're doing, so.
Then someone should change the motion.
Why?
Because that's not what the motion says.
The motion is to move items 1 through 6.
So, Ms. Cangelisi-Hay, do you recommend that the board approves these goals exactly as written?
No, and my understanding was that we would continue to work on the metrics. So that's what we were working through in committees this month. And I know you all know this, but it's good for people to hear that as well. Because some of the metrics are perhaps not feasible. You know, you mentioned the one about the bathrooms. There's a lot that goes into bathrooms, believe it or not. I know there's a metric, for example, on test scores. We just had a bomb dropped on us, for lack of a better term, on Friday from the Department of Education that testing is going to be totally changed this coming school year, including different tests. So that may need to get reworked. So for sure, we need to work on the metrics, and I'm looking forward to doing that with you all, and that is part of the plan going forward.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. So we'll take a roll call.
Ms. Gong? So for organizational items 1 through, let's see, is it 1 through 3, 4, sorry, 1 through 4? 6, thank you. No on 1, the district goals. Yes on 2 through 6.
Mrs. Kellogg?
No on 1, yes on 2 through 6.
Ms. LaCosta?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Rothel?
Yes.
Mrs. Duggan?
Yes.
Mrs. Santangelo?
Yes.
Okay, majority yes, motion's carried.
We did not know at the time that the budget was passed that this was on the budget or even that there had been an RFP out, because in the past we had voted on the RFP for this service. I would have requested, honestly, at that point, that it be smaller, that we consider having one behavioral person. When we discussed it briefly, I had a lot of questions personally, and unfortunately didn't get many answers enough that I could feel confident making this decision. It's amazing, actually, there's quite a few people in the audience who seem to have plenty of information. I wish that I had the opportunity to hear some of it. So unfortunately, because I did not have access to information on the actual program, I went digging into what information I could find, which is publicly available. I understand that this is an emotional topic because mental health is crucial for our students. And I also understand that as a board member and taxpayer, I'm keenly aware that school budgeting has real world impacts on families throughout the district, and many of whom are struggling right now. So we're being asked to approve a service at a cost of more than $250,000. Like I said, I would have liked to have had the opportunity to dialogue to understand this issue more thoroughly prior to this vote, but that was not provided. So the only information I have here tonight is what is publicly available, as I said. In looking into this issue, I found that first and foremost, Hunterdon Central does take student mental health very seriously. We have 15 counselors, 4 student assistance counselors, or SACs. The counseling department also has a supervisor of counseling, 2 counseling specialists, and a counseling secretary. Additionally, Central employs 1 behaviorist, 1 behavioral specialist, 3 school psychologists, and 4 social workers, among other positions.
Township. President Santangelo, Superintendent Cangelisi-Hayes, I am encouraged to see that finally. you have placed the Care Plus contract on the agenda tonight for approval. Of course, you know that placing this critical mental health service on the schedule is only part of the need. I expect that you will move forward with the approval of this service tonight. I'm at a loss to understand why the board has been dragging its feet in approving this contract, given that you voted unanimously to approve the 2025-2026 budget that included the Care Plus service back in March, April, which you did not object to at that time. The Care Plus service is obviously something that Superintendent Candelosi Hayes and her administration feels very strongly that it is needed. As a board, part of your task is to support the superintendent. If you do not support the superintendent in providing this critical service, then you owe the residents and taxpayers a cogent answer as to why you voted for it in March, April to place the funds in the budget, and now will turn around and say it is not necessary. I'm concerned that ideologically, something has changed since your stated board goal number 2 does not speak of this critical in-house mental health service that is already, again, accounted for in the budget. And again, that you already approved your bullet point number 2 of goal 2, proposed measures of success, where you state, by 2025, Hunterdon Central will develop a plan to ensure that students and families have access to a listing of mental health resources which are available through nonprofit, local, and state providers. Do not talk about the in-house contract that you could vote on tonight for Care Plus. Again, no mention of last year's critical in-school service of Care Plus has already been approved to be provided again this year. Also, I'm concerned that you might be thinking of not renewing this vital service that has been a tremendous help to so many of our students because of the changes that you have made to Policy 2411, governing mental health services at the school, which I commented on at the previous board meeting. I anxiously await your proving me wrong by going forward with the vote on the Care Plus service tonight in the affirmative, approving the Care Plus contract that you agreed to do when you voted for it in the budget you approved back in March, April timeframe. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've quoted you plenty. All right, tell me your name.
Nancy Lamore.
And tell me, what did you believe in 35 years?
In 35 years, there has never been litigation. 35 years in Hunterdon Central, there has never been a litigated case having to do with school-based youth services. So I don't know why they're worried now about things being litigated. It makes no sense.
Do you think they need to listen to the petition that's out there?
The petition was for Care Plus,
Yeah.
not for school-based, because nobody knows. The public doesn't know about the fact that they discontinued the youth-based services. The public now has some knowledge of Care Plus being canceled. School-based costs nothing to
They're advocating for the approval of Care Plus tonight, which is on the agenda.
Yes, I saw it.
And now you would like them to reconsider,
the school-based services.
if not tonight, then at the next meeting. They could do that.
If they haven't,
But you're worried about the contract not being available.
if
Yeah.
they've gone to another school. The school-based youth services is in a multitude of schools all over the county. Voorhees High School, North Hunterdon High School, Middles, JPKs, all over the county. This program exists.
So-
And there is no cost to families.
And could you tell me about what you're urging them to explain about?
I want to know why they're not renewing the contract with behavioral health at Hunterdon Medical Center. Has there been something that was done incorrectly? Did the counselors not meet their responsibilities? Did the children decide that those counselors were not easily connected to? I worked as a juvenile counselor at Hunterdon Medical Center, and we gave the best services we could get. And I have to tell you, adolescents have a very, very difficult time getting through these 4 years.
And there were surveys. Every year a survey goes out. I could tell you that having had to look at those surveys, the students and the families were always very satisfied with the services that they received.
Are you disappointed right now that nothing showed up on the agenda?
I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed with them talking about saying something about the 18-year-olds. There's law, there's Keystone Law, look it up. If 16 and over have the right to counseling without parental agreement.
Have you come to any conclusion on why they're not telling you the information?
I wouldn't want to say that on tape.
I think there's a control issue going on.
I think there's a control
And
issue.
I don't want to speak about what I think that control issue is, but we have to let our adolescents grow up. And the board really wants to control them more than they would prefer to be controlled. And that's what I believe is the issue. I think children need to have the right to speak to people independently and without fear of retribution or reprimand. And I think the board wants to reprimand every kid here if they have a thought that doesn't agree with them. That's what I believe.
But Nikki Bryce, Raritan Township. I'd like to bring up the next item on the agenda, the district goals. And I really hope that you will spend some time to have an open, honest, public discussion about the process of coming up with these particular goals. I noticed on the agenda, it says, move to approve the district goals for the 2025-2026 school year, but it does not say, as recommended by the superintendent, like it does on nearly 20 other action items throughout the rest of the agenda. I just hope that the superintendent, the administration, our educators and experts who would have the best understanding of Hunterdon Central's needs, challenges, and strengths were engaged during this entire process. I want to point out specifically with respect to goal number 2, and I think Mr. Cohen touched on this, regarding academic and wellness counseling. Although reference is made to guidance counselors and student assistance counselors, the wording does imply that the level 2 and level 3 counseling services through school-based counselors and the Care Plus program respectively will no longer be offered through Hunterdon Central. I understand Care Plus is an agenda item that's up for approval. I hope you do vote to approve it like the other speakers have spoken about. I do think the more you can provide within the school by having these higher level counseling services in place, the less risk you have of students deteriorating to the point where they'll need something more than the school can provide. For example, classification for emotional issues that leads to out-of-district placement, that would be extraordinarily expensive for taxpayers. I just worry that if you're taking away services, you're opening the school to additional liabilities and additional costs. And I'm going to change course a little bit here with the final goal, goal 5, student and staff health and wellness. The goal starts, the proposed goal statement by saying Hunterdon Central will ensure the students and staff are well maintained. What does this even mean? I think it needs to be defined what well maintained. I kind of laughed at this. I think it's broad, and my first reaction honestly was, will you be cleaning their fingernails? I mean, what is keeping the students well maintained? And then it goes into bathroom cleanliness. I'm just sort of astounded there's a district goal about bathroom cleanliness. Is this necessary? I just have more questions than answers at this point, and just please, help us understand. Thank you.
Raritan Township, I'm here to speak on behalf of the Operations and Transportations Committee number 11, the award for the Behavioral Health Services contract. As we're reminded at the start of every Board of Education meeting, Hunterdon Central's mission statement is read aloud. Tonight I want to focus on the pieces of the two pieces of the mission statement: emotional safety and promoting wellness, two essential components for student success. Quite simply, if our students are not well, they cannot learn. At last month's meeting, the board voted to advance a significantly revised version of Policy 2411, which governs counseling services. This was in effect a complete rewrite, and many community members raised deep concerns. The reason was clear. The language of the new policy shifts away from the school directly fostering emotional safety and wellness, and instead places greater emphasis, or perceived emphasis, on college and career readiness. Support for student well-being is reframed as little more than referring families to outside community resources when they have elevated needs, rather than ensuring those supports are actively provided within the school. Which raises an important question. What is the board's position on mental health, and how do you view the school's role in meeting those needs? How do you interpret the words emotional safety and promoting wellness in Central's mission statement if the very services that support the highest need students are not being fully supported? I was encouraged to see one of the district goals, specifically Goal 2, focused on counseling, but it appears that the board's commitment in this area is affirming. However, the word of the goal is thinly veiled and falls a bit short. It refers to increased awareness of SACs and the use of outside community resources for additional services. Nowhere does it explicitly mention the incorporation or utilization of in-house partnership services such as school-based services or Care Plus, two trusted external partners that have long provided the specialized supports Central students require. This omission is troubling as it suggests a shift from a layered system of support for student wellness to a model that increasingly outsources help. That brings me to tonight's agenda, and that's in regard to the renewal of the Care Plus contract. Care Plus is not just any vendor. It's a trusted partner that has provided our district with licensed clinical professionals, including dedicated social workers and counselors. The cost for this service was already accounted for in the 2025-2026 school budget. Last year, Care Plus was renewed 3 months earlier at the May board meeting alongside numerous other contracts. This year, however, Care Plus's renewal is only now being brought forward for approval with less than 10 days before students enter the school. One example of their direct impact and benefits to the students is dedicated counselor to the Aspire program. The Care Plus counselor embedded in the Aspire program is vital. For students who struggle, thrive in a traditional classroom environment.
Mr. Cohen, your time is up, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Maristella Wallace, Raritan Township. I do apologize to the board for the outburst. I'm very emotional with this issue. We have 3 minutes to speak, so I'm going to just say the number 1 right now. I'm going to read a letter from another resident regarding Care Plus. As a Hunterdon County resident and parent of 4 children who will soon attend Hunterdon Central, I'm writing to express my strong support for continuing Care Plus for the 2025-26 school year, and to urge you to add it to the next board meeting agenda for a vote. Number 2, I'll explain that at the end. I know the board is familiar with Care Plus and its role in supporting students, but as both a parent and a community member, I feel it's important to stress just how critical these services are for our children. Care Plus fills a unique gap that traditional student assistance counselors and extracurricular programs cannot. Number 3, identifying and supporting students who may be struggling in ways that directly affect their education, health, and future success. These on-site professionals provide early intervention, suicide assessments, skill building, and support that keeps students engaged and learning, often preventing costly out-of-district placements. They also help students manage physical and emotional challenges that might otherwise result in absences or falling behind academically. Number 4, our community values sports, theater, and enrichment programs, and Care Plus is equally vital. The return on investment is clear: better student outcomes, stronger family support, and cost-effective use of taxpayer dollars. Losing this program due to a delay in action would be a serious setback for our students and our community. Many fellow residents, caregivers, and I believe this program must remain in place. I respectfully urge you to place Care Plus on the agenda so it can receive the vote it deserves before it's too late for the 2025-26 planning. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for your commitment to our students' success. Sincerely, Kristen Erickson. Number 5. My child was in the Aspire program. We had such a rough year. She had 3 tragic deaths in a month in her life. None of them due to COVID, by the way, so it was horrible. I don't know where we would have been. To be honest with you, we had outside counseling. Number 6. We had outside counseling. That wasn't enough. I sat there hoping I wouldn't get that call from school. With Aspire and Care Plus, I was pretty sure I wouldn't. Number 7. That is what kept my child in school, and she is a rising senior. Everyone here who's lucky enough to not be part of that program, I'm envious, but think of me and my family. Number 8, those were 8 suicide attempts by teenagers while I was speaking. Thank you.
I have 2 of my own children here at the school, and I've been I'm a vice principal right now, and I'm speaking on behalf of a communication that was sent to you earlier today. I'm going to just go through some of the points there. I've been a vice principal here for going on 6 years, and I've been in the school as an employee for 22. So I just kind of wanted to focus mostly on Care Plus. We did have some communications in our email to you about the student assistance counselors, but I think tonight is the bigger decision about Care Plus. So as a vice principal, I have a special relationship with Care Plus. I just want to talk about some things they could provide to help you guys make your decision tonight. The first thing I wanted to point out is just that Care Plus completes a full intake whenever they begin services with a student, which includes an in-person meeting with a parent or guardian. The gentleman that spoke first talked about assessments that Care Plus does. That to me is one of the most powerful things they can provide. When we as vice principals find that we need a student cleared, which means that they have said something that indicates they want to harm themselves or somebody else, we need to get them evaluated by a psychiatrist. They can write a note that says that that student is safe to return to school and there's no threat to themselves or others. And that is if you've ever had to do that or be present for one of those, it is a long process. It asks a parent to take their child to the emergency room. They have to sit in the emergency room for 8 hours sometimes. And so for them to be able to provide that service here on campus, I think is great, not just because it's convenient, but also because it's a safer space for the student. They might already have a relationship with the people that are assisting in that. It's done in a much more quick manner. And it also is a much more comprehensive set of recommendations that people on campus have been able to give information on. The other thing that's great about it too is that once that clearance has come through, if the student needs additional services from the person that cleared them, that is almost never going to happen from an emergency room clearance, but it can happen with Care Plus. They can, with the permission of the parent, continue to receive services here from the person that they already divulged all those thoughts to. So, I have more to say, but we have 3 minutes. I just wanted to make sure that those facts were clear. Happy to answer questions. I know that's a break of protocol, but I'll be here. So thank you guys for your time, and I hope this helps your decision making tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Go into recess. Yeah.
Recess, we only have 3 minutes each.
Okay, so listen, this isn't a back and forth, so you need to just be respectful and listen, otherwise we're gonna take a recess. This is not a back and forth, he's making a statement.
So beyond those concerns, again, these are all things that have been addressed both the school-based and Hunterdon Health and the DCF on behalf of the administration in deciding not to recommend the continuation of this service. There also were concerns with specific questions being asked of Hunterdon Health that they declined to answer, various phone conversations where they chose not to respond to those and imposed arbitrary deadlines that we found out were not in fact being imposed by DCF. An outright refusal to consider any amendment to the contract, again, this one-page document that had been in place, and just the general, unwillingness to discuss with the superintendent the concerns that were identified by the administration during the course of the year. As a result of that, the administration chose not to make the recommendation to continue with it. There is no agenda item specific to school-based on the agenda tonight, so that's kind of where we are. If you want to speak about school-based specifically, that'd be perfectly fine to talk about during the second public comment, but the first public comment is specific to items on the agenda itself. Thank you.
Okay.
Step back, and what I'll do is I'll hand the board. You can sign it while you lines.
Okay, so because there's more people, we're gonna reduce the time to 3 minutes per speaker. All right. So whenever you're ready, we'll do the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Ronald Levy. I live in Delaware Township. And I'm speaking to something that was just spoken about by the superintendent. I understand that funding for Care Plus services for the coming year is going to be voted on tonight. And I would like to speak in strong support of continuing Care Plus counseling services. I signed a petition in support of Care Plus this morning. I would like to read that petition for the record. The board has a copy of that petition. As of this afternoon, there were 425 signatories on the petition, and that's only after 3 days. So let me read the petition now and mention that speakers following me will be talking about their direct experiences with Care Plus. We, the undersigned stakeholders and community members, are deeply concerned that the board has not yet voted on Care Plus for the 2025-26 school year. Without timely action, there may not be enough time to ensure these critical services remain in place for our students. Care Plus is a vital part of the school-based youth services offered alongside traditional assistance counseling. While the school funds many enriching activities such as sports and theater and values their importance, some students, including those who participate in extracurricular activities, require more targeted support to thrive. Care Plus identifies and supports these students, filling the gap by bridging school and personal challenges through integrated services offered both within and beyond the Aspire program. These Care Plus on-site professionals do not provide mental health counseling or prescribe medication. Instead, they focus on building skills, increasing knowledge, and equipping teachers and families to helping students succeed in school. They conduct suicide assessments. They support students who might otherwise require costly out-of-district placement, and they help them remain engaged in their education. These services also reduce absences for outside appointments and address health issues that can interfere with learning. This program is not only an efficient use of taxpayer dollars, but also directly boosts student achievement. If you believe in student success, you know how essential Care Plus is and cost-effective Care Plus is. We urge the board to act now to ensure it continues for the 2025-26 school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have to say my municipality or anything before I start?
Yes, your name and
Sweet. My name is Subhash Sherba from the Raritan municipality. Thank you. My classmate and valedictorian of the class of 2025, Alex Atushny, wrote me a statement that I would like to give you tonight in relation to the SBYS. This is that statement. I've been thinking about how I want to deliver this statement for a while, and after much deliberation, I've realized that the only way I can truly do so is to be honest. I've learned that the Board of Education isn't renewing its grant with SBYS, a program that has assisted the school with licensed and trained therapists from Hunterdon Healthcare for more than 3 decades, via a grant at no cost to the school or parents. This is a program that he used for the 2 most challenging years at Hunterdon Central, a program that let him work through his mental challenges, a program that he can confidently say has saved his life. He knows many friends who use it and agree that school-based youth services works and is an essential part of our support network for students who need help. Because with so many people attending Hunterdon Central, especially in this college application environment, it's inevitable that some people will struggle with their mental health. What this program is to them is an opportunity to get professional support when they otherwise may never have had the means of doing so. A way to find somebody who will listen when they feel alone, and a safe space to find solace in when they have nowhere else to go. Let's not forget what happens when these sorts of support networks can't be reached. Let's not forget the Hunterdon Central sophomore who took their own life not that long ago. Let's not forget the solemn silence that filled our halls afterwards, the grief that their family felt, and the vow made by Hunterdon Central's special education teacher, Michael Bernhard. We need to make sure that this never happens again. Let their presence and their absence forever remain a reminder that every student deserves support and not one of them can be afforded to be lost. I'll never know what went on in their head, but I'll know what it's like to not want to live anymore, is what Alex wrote here. I know what it's like to be afraid to tell my family, to ask for support, and I know what it's like to feel like there's no way out. The reason I'm here today is because of the amazing work that the SBYS counselors did to create a safe and welcoming space for me, where I wasn't afraid to tell somebody that I was struggling. I can't thank them enough, so to see the program not being renewed is nothing short of baffling to me. For something that costs neither the district nor the parents any money, the school-based youth services have left an immeasurable impact on thousands of students. I implore you to re-sign the grant program that saved me from myself before somebody becomes the next student who makes another teacher say, never again.
We do not, but you can, what I've seen a lot of districts do, and this is for the board and the superintendent to discuss, is when they have their agenda then, once everything's been approved, the final plan has been adopted and approved, what they will often do is identify items in the agenda with the goal statement or the goal area that it pertains to in the strategic plan. So you're always going to see what's coming from the strategic plan. And remember, it's really going to dictate and give you guidance on everything that you do moving forward. So everything that's included in the strategic plan will likely be coming forward at board meetings, and you'll be able to see those things. So as people come to board meetings or watch the live feed or watch the recorded version, they'll be able to see those things that are apparent that have come from the strategic plan. The other thing that I just wanted to mention is things that come up on this through the strategic plan are not always possible to do. So there may be some things that are requested and that are suggested and recommended in the strategic plan that are not possible. I had a district years ago, a shore district actually, down in the southern part of the state, and somebody came, it was a one-building schoolhouse, and it was about 100 years old. And one of the students said, wouldn't it be great if we had a rooftop pool? The answer is yes, that would be great if you could have a rooftop pool. However, I explained to the student, I said, this might not be possible because of the age of your building and the fact that it's the weight that would be on the roof. But the superintendent will investigate that with your township committee architect and an engineer and see if that's possible. And so the student looked at me and he said, okay, well, if that's not possible, then could we do maybe a rooftop garden? I said, now that's something you can probably do. And I believe that they do have a rooftop garden going on right now. And so what ends up happening is if there's something in the strategic plan that can't be accomplished, the superintendent just needs to be able to say, we did investigate this, we did everything we could to see if this was possible, and it wasn't possible within the confines of this strategic plan. But we may be able to do it at some point in the future. So it's not necessarily lost, and it's not because somebody just didn't feel like looking into it. We looked into it, we tried, but it's not possible right now with funding and everything else. We did have a district years ago before the accountability regulations came out. It was a rather large school district, and they wanted to hire a full-time public relations person. And that was in place for their 4th year of their 5-year strategic plan. In the 4th year of their strategic plan, the accountability regulations came out, which clearly stated that you could not have a full-time public relations person for a school district. So they had to scrap that whole piece, which was rather large. They built up resources for this, facility areas, finances, all of that, personnel, and they had to scrap that. That was clearly something that couldn't happen any longer because of the state came down and said that you couldn't do that. So there are lots of things that may interfere with the strategic plan, but just about, I would say 90% of strategic plans are able to come to fruition. So, yeah, anybody else on the board? No, you good? Okay, I want to thank you so much for all you do for your students, your staff, and community. We appreciate that at NJSBA. We appreciate you. We appreciate you all for coming out tonight and hearing about this and being part of your board meetings. And if anybody has any questions, my contact information is in the packet that you have. Please don't hesitate. Okay, thank you so much.
But our job is to make the hard decisions based on the good of the students and the district both, today and in the future. Like I said, I wish that I had had some more information prior to having to go find this information, but this information tells me that we have the resources here within the school. And we need to also support the education of our students as well as mental health. So I will not be voting no on this. I will be voting no on this.
All right, any other comments?
I think it's only fair as the chair of this particular committee that I also speak. And after very careful consideration, and this is not going to be an easy decision, as someone who deeply values the importance of mental health for our students, especially given my own personal experiences. I understand how vital these services are. However, several key factors are influencing my decision. Most significantly, we are approaching the conclusion of a litigation process that has lasted over a decade and is expected to have a substantial impact on our budget. Combined with this year's budget presentation, which outlines several ongoing financial pressures, it is clear that we must proceed very cautiously. Additionally, I believe we need more time to fully evaluate critical aspects of this contract. These include the referral process and the potential for outsourcing services, the acquisition of grants, the possibility of generating businesses from our students, the use of interns during sessions. I too am also mindful of the current student to counselor and student to staff ratio. With under 2,400 students, Central has the best counseling ratios, clearly, as indicated. Given the potential financial constraints and the unanswered questions surrounding this contract, I believe the prudent course of action is to continue working with our current excellent team.
Tonight, as a resident of Hunterdon Township for 30 years, as a mother who has had 2 children go through Hunterdon Central, as a staff member who was the communications officer for 20 years, communicating with our public about unspeakable tragedies, fires, floods, a pandemic, and unheard of home schooling that lasted for over a year. And during all of that time, I really gained in-depth knowledge about our community's reactions to things. I am also the co-chair of the Partnership for Health's Mental Health Action Team. And I want to make it very clear, I am not speaking tonight on behalf of the Partnership for Health. I am speaking on my own behalf, based on my experience as the co-chair of the Mental Health Action Team. but I wanted you to be aware that the Partnership for Health every 3 years comes up with a community health assessment. We are at the end of the 3-year cycle. 3 years ago, coming out of COVID, mental health is a part of this assessment. Loud and clear, very strongly, we learned from all our constituents and all our health partners that depression was a serious concern for adolescents and young adults in our county. As a result of that, the Community Health Improvement Plan that was developed focused on depression in that age group. And that means doctors' offices, schools, organizations, all focused on that and made it a priority and developed action plans based on that. We are now completing the 3rd year, the cycle community health assessment, and are extremely concerned because what we've learned from all of our constituents is an extraordinarily high level of anxiety in our adolescents and young adults. This is especially concerning because Hunterdon County has a higher rate of anxiety and suicide than the state of New Jersey. We are one of the top 3 counties for those concerns. We are developing a community health action plan that is going to address that. It will be released at the end of the year. I'm asking you, I'm actually begging you, mostly as a mother, to really consider eliminating all resources for mental health programs from our campus. I know, and I'm speaking about Care Plus, I know that Care Plus is remarkably beneficial. And what I have always liked about it is that it does not remove students from class and give them private therapy. It involves families and parents, which I know is so important to this board. It's a program that has great benefits for our students.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Oh, please vote yes for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Summer programs have concluded. Thank you to our curriculum and instruction, special education, and counseling departments for another successful summer working with our students. We have been focused on preparing for the new school year. Our staff report on August 27th, and our students begin on September 2nd. It all starts to feel very close and very real this week as we welcome our new staff for our annual new staff orientation starting tomorrow. Dr. Hall, Ms. Ulrich, and the leadership team have revamped our orientation to ensure staff are acclimated to Hunterdon Central and feel ready for their first day. My personal favorite part of orientation is the campus tour led by Mr. Bob Cole and Mr. Ed Brandt. As a Central alum, Mr. Cole, and then longtime staff members, Mr. Cole and Mr. Brandt, have so much historical knowledge and fun anecdotes that it's impossible not to love it here. Next week, on Tuesday the 26th, we are very excited to welcome our new students, which include both incoming freshmen as well as transfer students. Thank you to Mr. Brandt and his team for planning the new student orientation. We are very happy to be able to offer additional activities for the students after the more traditional orientation day. This is one of my favorite days of the year. I love seeing our new students and talking with them as they walk around their schedules and trying to find all their classrooms for the year. Tonight on the agenda, we have multiple items to support setting up a successful start to the school year. As you know, we have the 2025-2026 district goals on the agenda for approval tonight. As I reported last month, I worked with the leadership team at the end of June in reviewing data from the 2024-2025 school year in order to create recommended goals for the upcoming year. Over the past month, the board reviewed the proposed goals and made revisions to ensure they reflect both district priorities and the board's perspective. We have amended the goal statements and have goals under instructional practices and student achievement, academic and wellness counseling, communication and student voice, fiscal responsibility and operational effectiveness, and student and staff health and wellness. What looks different this year than in prior years is the proposed measures of success under each goal statement. While you all know this, I think it's important for everyone here and for those watching to know that we are continuing to work on the metrics for each goal to be reflective of our mission statement. And I know Leslie just read it, but I'm going to read it again. Hunterdon Central is an innovative educational community
dedicated to the intellectual, social, and emotional safety and growth of all students. While fostering curiosity and promoting wellness, we aspire to create powerful learning experiences, establish strong partnerships, and serve as contributing members of society. I appreciate the collaborative process and the continued review of the proposed metrics as we work together to ensure our goals are forward-thinking, realistic, and attainable in guiding our district's progress. We would like to have revised metrics prepared for our September board meeting.